here today. It's so great to have you all here for this exciting launch announcement. My name's Jay Brown. I'm the Senior Vice President of Programs, Research and Training here at the Human Rights Campaign. And I'm just getting things kicked off this morning, and I really want to spend a little bit of time to just introduce my colleague, Ellen Kahn, who directs all of our children, youth, and families programming, and is the mastermind behind this new initiative. She has been a fierce leader for youth over her tenure, and she has developed some incredible programs here, and I cannot wait to see what Project Thrive brings. So without further ado, Ellen Kahn, come on up here and get things started.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay, and thank you so much for being here this morning. We're really excited to mark this big step forward in supporting LGBTQ youth across this country. As a little background, this past February, with support from the Annie E. Casey Foundation, we brought together leaders of 16 national organizations spanning the fields of medicine, mental health, juvenile justice, child welfare, education, social services. And we posed the question, which is, how can we collectively change the landscape for LGBTQ youth? And with a focus on adolescents in particular, who face unique challenges within their families and peer groups at school and at systems of care. And we had robust conversations. We identified many needs, many opportunities, and ultimately we planted the seed for this Project Thrive. And I want to thank IKEA for the support that allows us to take this work to the next step. Our first speaker this morning is someone I love and admire, the president of HRC, Chad Griffin.
Thank you so much, Ellen, for that introduction, and thank you for your vision and for your leadership on these issues. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Human Rights Campaign. We are so thrilled to have you all here today for this critically important launch of Project Thrive, our groundbreaking national campaign for the well-being of LGBTQ youth. I'd first like to acknowledge the powerhouse of advocates, allies, our critical organizational partners, and my colleagues who are all here and joining for this program today. First, you've already heard from Jay Brown, our SVP who leads our foundation programs, Ellen Kahn, our Director of Children, Youth, and Families here at HRC. Also, Jody Patterson, a member of HRC's National Board of Directors, as well as a member of our Parents for Transgender Equality Council. National Education Association President Lily Eskelsen Garcia, so great to have you here again. The American Counseling Association President Dr. Simone Lambert, and our incredible young leaders, Nikaya Lynch from Prince George's County, Maryland, as well as Zoe Luna, an HRC ambassador here from California. On a very personal note, I must say that as I near the end of my tenure as HRC president, I can think of no place more important for me to be than here with all of you as we launch this critically important new initiative. I have said since I started my job here at HRC, and quite frankly even before that what motivates me to do this work day in and day out, and I know motivates so many of you, is my own personal experience. Growing up in a small town in the deep South, deeply closeted, in a place where life happens at home, at school, in the community, and in particular in the South, at church. And for a young person, if life is challenging in any one of those places, life is really hard. And for a lot of young people, life is challenging in all of those places, at home, at school, at church, and in their communities. And for a young person to go to bed at night staring at the ceiling, fearing the potential doom of the next day, has to be a wake-up call for all of us. And it's that experience that I had as a young person. And knowing that so many young people then and now have it more challenging than even I did, That's what motivates me day in and day out. So when I started at HRC 7 years ago, one of my very firsts, and top priorities was to explore the daily life challenges of LGBTQ young people across our country. But I mean really explore, understand what life looks like at home, at school, at church, and in their communities. Whether they lived in New York, Texas, Wyoming, in the Deep South, in my own home state of Arkansas. So in 2012, HRC commissioned a groundbreaking survey, Growing Up LGBT in America, that captured the experience of more than 10,000 LGBTQ young people nationwide. That same year, Ellen Kahn and I traveled to the Los Angeles LGBTQ Center, where we stood with the mayor of Los Angeles and more than a dozen LGBTQ youth and young leaders. And we released the results of that groundbreaking survey. In some ways, Ellen, that seems like yesterday. And we went from California to Utah to Nebraska to Arkansas before we finally got here to D.C. to look at the comparisons of state by state and region by region in terms of experiences for our youth. And I have to tell you, the results left us troubled, alarmed, and shaken. These 10,000 young people told heartbreaking stories of being rejected at home, bullied at school, ostracized in their own communities. I remember how we characterized the results back then. We said that the deck is stacked against our youth in America. That report 7 years ago was a wake-up call to the nation, a call to action, and we were left more determined than ever to use our platforms and our voices and our resources to improve the lives for these young people. And here we are, 7 years later, almost to the day. And let me first say that we have made tremendous progress across this country, thanks in large part to all of you here in this room and so many leaders and advocates and allies who've had a role in bending that arc of justice for our youth all across this country. Yet, despite our steadfast commitment to change the landscape for our youth, new data from our recent national survey reflects a world with far too many obstacles for these young people. They continue to be targeted by bullies, now even in the White House. They continue to be rejected by their families and discriminated against simply because of who they are. So while this historic movement for equality can point to so many victories, from achieving nationwide marriage equality and banning conversion therapy in 17 states and the District of Columbia, to electing openly LGBTQ officials and celebrating out leaders and athletes and entertainment stars, to having the most pro-equality Congress in American history. But for our youngest community members, especially those in middle and high school, every day can feel like a struggle, and especially a struggle for those who live at the intersections of multiple marginalized identities. And that's why today is so timely and it's so critically important. Because today, by joining HRC's Project Thrive, you and all of the organizations that you are here today represent millions of professionals who serve young people across this country. You are linking arms with us to bring to bear our collective voices, our platforms, and our resources to address the continuing challenges and disparities faced by lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer youth. While the data today tells us the road ahead will still be difficult, as I join you here today and launch this powerful new effort with and for our youth, I have never been more hopeful. As I near the end of my leadership here at HRC, I am thrilled to celebrate this next chapter of our collaborative youth-focused work, and so proud to know that when I leave this role, there is a sustained, powerful, nationwide commitment to making the world a better, more fair, more kind, and more inclusive place for all of our young people. And to the young people who are out there today and watching today, I say this: the Human Rights Campaign and every organization represented here today, we see you, we hear you, and we have your backs. So today, I stand with you moved and inspired. I celebrate you and this important next chapter in our work on behalf of LGBTQ youth and on behalf of HRC and all the young people out there counting on us. I thank each and every one of you for your commitment to this work. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Chad. Project Thrive is a bold answer to an urgent and complex problem. And by aligning our collective resources and bringing together the expertise of all of these organizations, we can really change the landscape for LGBTQ youth. Why is this so urgent? Well, as Chad pointed out, we've made tremendous progress, and due in large part to that progress, more and more young people are coming out as LGBTQ, and they're doing so at much younger ages, 11, 12, 13, 14, or even younger. And, at these younger ages, LGBTQ children are extremely vulnerable to and really unable to navigate family rejection, peer rejection, and the isolation that often comes with a stigmatized identity. In our most recent survey of teens, 67%, we heard from over 12,000 teens last year, 67% told us that they hear their own family members making negative comments about LGBTQ people. 70% said they've been bullied at school. And only 5% of LGB youth and 8% of trans youth are out to their healthcare providers. The data from the CDC's survey is even more alarming. They show incredibly high rates of depression among LGBT teens, and nearly half said that they had seriously considered attempting suicide. This is a crisis. And when you hear statistics like this, you might wonder, what is it about these young people? And I'll tell you that the answer is that when your sexual orientation or your gender identity is stigmatized, when you face bias and discrimination, hate speech, harassment, rejection, you get bad results. And there's nothing wrong with being LGBTQ. It's just about being given the space and support to truly be who you are. And we know that for LGBTQ youth of color, the impact on mental health and well-being is compounded. We recognize that the added burden of navigating multiple oppressed identities and racism and anti-LGBT bias is an exceptional challenge. I'd like to offer a refreshing voice next by inviting our youth ambassador, Zoe Luna, to share with you this morning.
Hello, everyone, and thank you to the Human Rights Campaign Foundation for bringing us all together today. My name is Zoe Luna, and I'm a young transgender Latina woman. It's amazing to be standing here alongside the leaders of these organizations, and it means a lot to me and to the youth like me to know that you all care. When I was in high school, we always talked about LGBTQ people, but there was never nearly enough education or information provided about trans youth and at least how to respect and support a transgender person like me. As an out trans girl, I often felt that people saw me as that trans person rather than just saying me for me. I often felt tokenized, although I was always ready and able to help educate anyone who needed to know. It would have made a big difference for teachers or other adults in school to check in with me and make sure that I was doing okay. For so many LGBTQ youth, family support makes all the difference. School would have been easier for me with the support of my mom, but she didn't have access to formal education in her own life and struggled to help me navigate and support me in that area of my life. I now see how truly important it is to have an education. LGBTQ students need these opportunities, and we need to feel safe and be supported at school, and we need adults to look up after us. Recently, my mom kicked me out of the house, and it sent me into survival mode. I feel it's important to clarify that she didn't kick me out because I'm transgender, although that is true for so many trans people like me. LGBTQ youth people don't just struggle with coming out or with homophobia or with transphobia. Just like other youth, we are navigating family, school, friendships, mental health, and trauma, all at the same time. I was forced to leave my house after sexual abuse by a family member and many years of emotional manipulation that followed. So I became my own therapist. I had to deal with the trauma on my own, and today I'm lucky to say that I have chosen family and people I can lean on. It's hard to ask for help, but my life now depends on it. I was able to finish the school year. I'm a graduate on Monday. I pick up my diploma once I come back from this trip. So that was a tough process to go through, but I did it. I'm determined to keep moving forward, to go to college, to pursue my dream of acting and writing, and to find out more about myself by living an authentic life. Having survived so many rough times, I can now say with confidence that I am a strong person. But despite the resilience of LGBTQ youth like me, I wish I didn't have to grow up so fast. I'm 17, and I wish I could have still been a kid. I wish I could have gone to prom. I wish I could have done everything I wanted to do. But, life took an alternative path for me, and that's cool, too. I just wish I had more support. A lot of papers. So thank you all for your commitment to improving the lives of LGBTQ young people like myself. No one should have to experience the things that I went through, but hopefully with the help of all of y'all, they never have to anymore. So thank you. Now, please welcome Lily. Thanks. All right, now please welcome Lily Eskelsen Garcia, President of the National Education Association.
I don't know who to thank for having me follow Zoe. Thanks a lot. Pero qué honor estar aquí con ustedes. What an honor to be here with all of you. I should tell you that, first of all, I am from Utah, where we now have gay marriage, okay? We still don't let Democrats marry, of course, because who would accept the children? So you have to draw a line somewhere. That's what we're doing here. And I am so proud to be here to kind of be a voice for the education professionals who are responsible for making sure that students like Zoe don't have to go through hard times in school. That happens way too often. When I love looking at this poster, I love seeing my colleagues from school psychologists and principals and superintendents and social workers and my brothers and sisters in the AFT. And here we are saying this is important to us. For us professionally, being an educator is all about the word all, that all our students will have what they need to succeed. And it hasn't always been that way, that we have had a process of coming to what does that word all mean. We've evolved. For the National Education Association for 160-something years, we have fought to grow that word, that inclusive word, all. We fought for children not to have to work in sweatshops. We fought for black children to be able to sit next to white children in a public school. We fought for those students who are learning English to not have to sacrifice their own language and their own culture. We fought for little girls to have the same opportunities as little boys. And yes, we have fought for safe places for students and their teachers to form something like a gay-straight alliance and talk about what it means to be respectful and inclusive in that public school. And so for me, yes, this is about my profession. This is about my beloved union, my organization, but it's also very personal for me because I am the mother of a gay son and the dreaded mother-in-law of his husband. Yes. He didn't know I came with that. And I know that they are happy living their lives in the great state of Utah. I know that all of our family came to their wedding. The Mormons in the family, the Catholics in the family, the none of the above in the family, all showed up because they loved these two young men. I know my 89-year-old mother bought them dish towels and a vacuum cleaner as her way of saying, I love you, and you are a freaking mess. Clean your house, do your dishes, and this floor is, because that's what grandmothers do. Thank you, Abuelita. And I know that my lovable son is not protected in his workplace. I know that he could lose his job by being so open and so happy about being a gay young man. I know that our LGBTQ students are too often the victims of bullying in a school. I know the dropout rates. I know the suicide rates of these students. I know that LGBTQ moms and dads going to a PTA meeting are not always welcome. I know that their children are too often the victims of bullying. I know Betsy DeVos, as her first act, rescinded the protection of our GLBT, of our transgender students from just not having to be humiliated every time they went to the bathroom. I know that Donald Trump has called transgender soldiers unfit to serve. The irony drips, Mr. Bone Spurs. I know that hate is still all around us and that we have not arrived. But I also know that we will continue to fight. We, however, will not fight using the same tactics as those who hate what we are trying to achieve. It's said that you do not win by destroying what you love. You win by saving. No, you don't win by destroying what you hate. You win by saving what you love. And I said that at a recent NEA meeting with our teachers. And one of my teachers came up to me and said, Lily, thank you for quoting the Bible. It was the last Star Wars movie. So, St. Luke Skywalker, it's all good. It's all good. You just take it wherever you can find it. But I want to tell you something else I see here. I see this symbol. And when I see the Human Rights Campaign symbol, you don't have to have any words, do you? You just see that symbol on a bumper sticker or on a door somewhere. And what it says to me is equal. No more, but no less. Equal rights. That is what this project is all about. Bending that moral arc of the universe towards justice for us means towards love, towards all, towards that beautiful word, all. Y para mí, gracias por el amor de la justicia. Y gracias a esta campaña para el amor para todos. Thank you for your love of justice for all. Mil gracias, hermanos y hermanas.
Thank you so much, Lily. I'd like to welcome Jody Patterson to join us and share some words. Jody is a member of HRC's Board of Directors and our Parents for Transgender Equality Council.
So I'm actually thankful that you had me follow Lily. Not because I'm as funny as, or, as moving as you are, but because, and this is a true story, maybe 6 months ago, I was texting with a friend, and I said, how do I get my message out more? I'm a mom of a trans kid. I'm a mom of 5 kids. And how do I share with the world what I've learned? And he, true story, he said, you have to become BFFs with the NEA. And I said, well, I don't know anyone there. What am I supposed to do? And he said, I don't know, figure it out. So now I follow you in this conversation. So thank you for that. So good morning. I wish that text too small, glasses too strong. I'm going to put them here so I can go back and forth. I wish my kids were here to see this because they're not sure what we're doing as adults, right? Oftentimes, it feels to them as though we're working against them, that we're speaking a different language, that we have it all backwards. And sometimes I think that way too. I look at what we are conveying as adults, and I look at what we are implying, and I look at the programs that we set up, and I think, God, we are working in the opposite direction of the flow of our children. So to see grown people, older people, doing things for younger people in this room, this collective group, is powerful, right? Our systems don't seem to be in favor of our children. You were talking about the deck being stacked. I agree with that. And we're looking at schools and hospitals, public service agencies, doctors and specialists. Many of the people that my family touch, many of the people and places that my family touch each year don't understand my family. They're confused by my family. So to see us here today, this is really good. We have such potential here today. We have the possibility of centralizing identities and issues that have been marginalized, right? Centralizing identities and issues that have been marginalized. And we can do that here. My family is made up of, is very complex and layered, I'll say. In my own home, we have transgender, and I have to read because I forget. We have transgender, cisgender, bi, straight, genderqueer, undecided. We are Black American from the South and the North. We are from Ghana. We are from Egypt. We are from Switzerland. We are from Vietnam. We are from Canada. This is really in my very close family. We speak over 5 languages. We pray in different ways. We love as we see fit. We identify across the spectrum. So when we walk into an office, people don't know what to do with us. They don't know. I had a doctor say, I'm sorry, I'm not equipped at doing a medical checkup for camp for your son. I can't assess if he's healthy or not. I won't do it, right? And that's just one of many examples that I've experienced as a mother. And if my family were listening to the political backdrop, the political noise, at this point we wouldn't even be able to sit down at the dinner table together. We wouldn't be able to share bathroom together. And we definitely wouldn't have stayed together as a family, right? If we listened to the political noise, families like my own would be split up because we couldn't agree based on how we identify, how we pray, how we see, how we experience the world. The current administration, I believe, is trying to split up families. I want my kids to know, and they're from the ages of 9 to 26, so I have a huge span, right? I'm seeing everything. I'm seeing grade school, I'm seeing high school, I'm seeing college, I'm seeing, I don't know what the hell's going on in the world. I'm seeing the whole span of young life. And I want them all to know that everyone in this room is committed to the change, committed to changing the narrative and telling a truer story about life. And the truth of it all is that we are quite different, all of us. There are millions and billions of different people, but we're connected through our humanity. And if we lose our humanity and if we lose the language of love, then we're really screwed, right? This language of love is really the primary aspect of it. According to my children and the millennial friends and their Gen X friends, this current system, this binary system that has divided us basically into these 2 categories. On one side we have, and this is very crude, we have male, white, rich, cisgender. And on the other side is basically everything else. Of color, LGBT, poor, female, right? So these are crude splits, and they're asking us to fall into one of those 2 categories. It doesn't make sense. I'm so proud that we've come together today to strategize on how we can align across organizations to create pathways towards acceptance, because acceptance is protection. When we truly see each other, when we decide to interbe, when we get to know each other on the smallest level, on the level of where our differences lie, then we can actually save lives. We can change the narrative. We can raise a child. We can keep a family together. I started working with HRC, I think it was like 6 years ago. I came in through the Parents for Transgender Equality Council, and Ellen and the team, the families that I've connected with, stabilized me, a mom of a trans kid, and that stabilized the family. And now I sit on the board of directors. I don't even have to sign in anymore, by the way, guys. They just let me walk right in. So I found through HRC, I found parents and doctors and lawyers and school administrators and camps and friends and hospitals and new language and new understanding, new resources, all to support my kid. And Penelope, who is my trans son, who decided to keep his name Penelope, was just the first to come out in the family. So after Penelope was accepted and lifted up and loved, all of the kids said, wait, hold up. I have something I want to tell you as well about myself. I need you to invest in me. And so every single one of my children has come out and said, I am not what you thought. I am this. Fill in the blank. Right? I am this. One has said to me, I'm genderqueer. The other one has said to me, I am a scientist. I need you to wear a shirt that says, I love scientists, right? Because I run through Brooklyn with the shirt, someone I love is transgender, and he's like, I need one that says something about scientists, right? And that's how they think about it. They think about it as their particularities, their special sauce, right? It's not like Penel, the trans weird kid. It is the science kid. It's the kid who is different in some way or another. I want to point out that although Penelope and his siblings are very well protected, fairly visible, I was walking down the street coming here, and in the window of Gap is Penelope with Gia, one of our youth ambassadors. So my children are pretty well protected. But if you think about the global context, and correct me if this number is wrong, but I think 70 countries globally, it is illegal, right? It's criminalized to be LGBT. And in a handful of countries, it's punishable by death. So and I used to think, wow, we have to go over there and save, out there is where the bigger problem is. But then when I look at my family, we're made up of some of those 70 countries. So the residue of that is here in America. Our grandparents and our cousins and our culture, in a sense, is not inclusive. We in this room are, but we have a lot to deal with. There's a lot to do globally. HRC and this collective group can change the minds, can change the language. There's so much we need to do, and we can do it. It's an incredible opportunity we have. In the midst of all this divisiveness, we can simply just say yes and find ways to connect. Just simply say yes and find ways to connect. So I want us to think about changing our language, changing our narrative, and then changing the history. Thank you for having me here. I'm so proud. Every time I come to HRC and come to DC, I feel like we are one step closer to making a difference. I want to welcome next Nakia Lynch. Where are you? There you are. They are a self-proclaimed intersectional feminist. I love this. They are a foster youth representative on the queer local and state advisory boards for Prince George's County and Maryland. Thank you.
Hi. There we go. On behalf of the foster youth of Prince George's County, I just want to thank you all for being here. Your presence implies that you're vowing to make a commitment to the LGBTQ identifying youth of my county and beyond. A commitment we've been waiting for a long time for, and that it's so cathartic to receive. You're vowing to see us. Growing up queer is hard. It's even harder in a county like Prince George's, just down the road here in Maryland, where resources are slim to none and spread out to cities that we don't all have access to. Lack of resources leads to ignorance. It's not, that's one of the best math problems. And growing up queer, surrounded by ignorant people, is hardest. Basic things like having your teachers use your actual name, your doctor know your pronouns and how to take care of someone of your gender identity, and having a therapist who knows how to accommodate queer identities are all privileges where I'm from. To be without them for most of your life makes you accustomed to not being seen. Then once you get used to not being acknowledged, you no longer care if you are. Sorry. Yeah, a little snap for you. We're Gen Z, you have to understand. Then once you get used to not being acknowledged, you no longer care if you are. You start accepting things how they are, which puts a hold on pushing for change. What's the point of trying to change anything if you can't even get basic human rights on a daily basis? I had the opportunity not too long ago to shadow a delegate at the House of Delegates in Annapolis. I was so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I began asking questions like why the people who are already in power and who recognize that there needs to be change don't just change it. It was then explained to me that my idea was naive, because a real revolution is all about legacy work. You can't undo hundreds of years of wrong with one generation of right. That gave me a lot to think about, and I've been pondering it ever since. The idea of baton passing and creating space so that the person behind you can fill it and keep the fire burning. It's one of the reasons I appreciated your speech, Director Chad, because, what you were saying, you appreciated having the space to recognize that when you do finish your time as a director, there will be somebody here and a program where kids can feel safe. And it's kind of like that. What you all are doing here and now, this work is your legacy. You're creating space and setting the bar where it needs to be. Queer youth deserve to feel seen, no matter how often we forget. To know that there are people like you out here fighting for us gives me so much hope. Thank you for starting the fire, and thank you for seeing us.
Thank you, Nakaya. I think our future is in good hands with the likes of you taking the baton. I'd like to introduce Mel Wilson from the National Association of Social Workers.
Thank you, and good morning. Yeah, Mel Wilson, National Association of Social Workers. You may or may not know we're the largest social work organization in the country, about 110,000 members, chapters in each state, and very much committed, obviously, to social justice and human rights. My job itself is I'm the senior manager for social justice for NASW. Before I get into what I was going to say, I noticed everyone's had sort of an anecdotal story about their own experiences, and I listened to your story as you were growing up. My oldest brother, I'm from a small town in New Jersey, and when he was a teenager, he's LBGT, and went through some of the same experiences that we're talking about right now. Juvenile justice system as it was then in the 50s, moving on to being imprisoned, struggling with alcohol and drugs. And much of it is about his struggles of dealing with being LBGT in a very small town. And with family trying to understand, but maybe during that time not quite understanding, and leading his life trying to sort of balance what he was feeling and dealing with the society around him. So I appreciated your story on that, because I certainly could identify with that on a personal level, and being very close to my brother. He's passed, but being close to him was something that sort of triggered when you talked about that. But I am talking about the commitment to provide a community or communities and organizations like NASW, Child Welfare League, the School Social Work Association, and a number of other providers who are totally committed to Project Thrive. We know this population from service delivery. We know what the LGBTQ at-risk youth go through. They come through our systems. It's a very unique experience. And so I'm voicing a commitment from a large organization to say that we are totally behind everything that Project Thrive is doing, and we'll remain totally committed as far as it's going to go. You can call on us, and we'll do whatever we can do to make this happen, because this is something that organizations that have the capacity to make a change and use our professional skills to support this vulnerable population is something that not only committed to, we're obligated to that. And so I am representing by voice other providers, psychologists and counselors and physicians. I know at the meeting that we had out in California, the schools were very much involved with this, and this is a comprehensive approach to a problem of a population that has unique needs. So here to share that with you, here to voice my total commitment, here to voice my organization's commitment, and call on me whenever you want to call on me. Thank you.
And our final speaker today will be Dr. Simone Lambert from the American Counseling Association.
Good morning. On behalf of the 54,000 professional counselors who work with LGBTQ youth, families, couples, and other individuals each and every day, the American Counseling Association is both honored and proud to stand shoulder to shoulder today with several of the nation's leading health, education, and social services organizations. The American Counseling Association's vision is that in order to thrive, every person must have access to quality professional counseling services. Our long and very strong partnership with the Human Rights Campaign is an example of how we are striving to realize that vision. We are so excited to support Project Thrive because as professionals in mental health, we know what a positive impact this effort will have in the lives of young LGBTQ people. At the American Counseling Association, we understand the importance of working with groups with whom we share a common purpose. And I would like to recognize our fellow organizations from the mental health and human services field who are joining in this historic campaign, including the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Mental Health of America, and the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America. Professional counselors are fierce advocates for their clients and students. We know that our advocacy resonates louder and stronger when we join together with others in a shared strategy, one that is committed to improving the mental health and emotional well-being of LGBTQ youth. The American Counseling Association takes great pride in our endorsement of the Equality Act, which recently passed the House of Representatives. And now we ask all professional counselors and mental health workers to join with us to work side by side with HRC and all of the Project Thrive partners. We believe that this bill must become law. And finally, our pledge to LGBTQ youth is that we will fight for you. We must become vigilant in creating safe spaces at home, in schools, and in our systems of care. Laws alone cannot save the lives of young people and cannot guarantee that they will thrive. Those tasks belong to each and every one of us. It is a sacred pledge of my colleagues who work as professional counselors, as it is with those of you who are here today. The American Counseling Association will continue to fight for what can be achieved through Project Thrive. This is a far too important campaign to simply relegate to the back burner. It is a priority for professional counselors, and we look forward to working with HRC and our other colleagues who have joined us this morning. It is, in many ways, our way to demonstrate our unwavering support and advocacy of LGBTQ youth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. In closing, I want to express gratitude to the 16 organizations that are signed on for this launch today. I want to make clear that that's just the beginning. In fact, last night, the National Association of School Superintendents sent in their pledge of commitment. There is an open invitation. We expect that many more national organizations will join this work, and we will have even greater impact as time goes on. So thanks to all of you for being here today. I do want to just one more time express our gratitude to IKEA and Raphael. Thanks for being here. Not only do you demonstrate your support to your employees by scoring 100% on the Corporate Equality Index, but you're here demonstrating your commitment to the broader community by investing in Project Thrive, and we are grateful. Thank you again for being here, and go Project Thrive.